So, picture this. It's late at night. The room's completely quiet, lit up just by that cold blue glow from your smartphone screen. You open your banking app, and you just sort of stare into the dark at that balance. The money you've sacrificed and worked so incredibly hard to build. You feel responsible, right? Disciplined. You feel this profound sense of financial maturity because you're doing exactly what you were taught to do. But what if that feeling of safety is actually an illusion? 0.5%. Yeah, that is the reality of the modern savings account. I want you to let the gravity of that math just kind of sink in for a second. You could have $10,000 sitting in that account, totally locked away, doing absolutely everything right by the traditional rules, and after an entire grueling year of discipline, you might earn just 50 bucks. Meanwhile, you've got this silent thief, inflation, relentlessly eating away at your purchasing power, quietly making literally everything around you more expensive. It kind of sparks this terrifying, undeniable question in the back of your mind, doesn't it? Wait, am I doing this all wrong?
You see, there's a massive divide in the financial universe. We're talking about two completely different mechanisms, and they have entirely different purposes. Saving protects your money. Investing grows your money. They are two completely different jobs, yet we constantly confuse them. Now, saving is absolutely crucial. Don't get me wrong, it provides a floor right beneath your feet, but saving is rarely, if ever, the engine of true generational wealth. To build something that actually outlasts you, well, protecting what you have just isn't enough. You have to understand the mechanics of growth.
Part 1. The illusion of safety. Why saving is not the final goal.
Let's fast forward 20 years, a span of time where entire eras shift. $10,000, kept dutifully in savings at a standard 1% rate, it barely moves. 2 decades later, you've got roughly $12,200. But what if that exact same initial capital was invested at the historical 10% average of the S&P 500? It completely transforms. It becomes $67,000. Guys, this isn't magic. This is just the quiet, relentless machinery of compound interest working in the background of your life. The defining wealth gap of our time isn't between savers and spenders. It's between savers and investors.
So, why do so few of us actually cross that bridge from protecting to growing? Well, the answer is buried deep inside human psychology. Saving just feels safe. The balance stays stagnant. You don't have to watch your life's work suddenly drop 5% on a random Tuesday afternoon. But investing feels inherently dangerous. It introduces emotional volatility. The value moves up and down, and that triggers a really primal anxiety. And that fear you feel when you even think about the stock market, it's completely valid. It's hardwired right into our survival instincts. But paradoxically, surrendering to that fear is the exact thing keeping you financially trapped.
Part 2. The 5-step blueprint. Overcoming the fear.
Okay, so we're not just taking a blind leap of faith into the unknown here. Crossing over to the investing side requires a really calculated, systematic transition. We're talking about a blueprint designed to permanently protect your security while at the same time unlocking your capacity for wealth. We move in deliberate stages, from securing an emergency fund to mental separation, starting small, using simple investments, and finally, consistency. Every single step is a carefully calibrated defense against your own psychological barriers.
Step 1. This is your armor. Before you deploy even a single dollar into the markets, you absolutely must stockpile 3 to 6 months of vital living expenses in purely liquid cash. This cash is your shield against the brutal unpredictability of life. When your car breaks down, or a career gets paused, or some unexpected medical emergency hits in the dead of night, you're insulated. This impenetrable reserve makes sure you are never forced to panic sell your long-term investments just to survive the present moment.
Step 2 introduces a pretty profound psychological trick. You have to mentally separate the concept of saving from the act of investing. Picture your wealth divided into 2 totally different buckets. Bucket 1 is your safety money. It's static, it's reliable, and it literally never moves. Bucket 2 is your growth money. And by definition, it is allowed to fluctuate. Once you truly internalize that your growth money's only purpose is to endure the turbulent waves of the market over decades, that daily anxiety you have over the inevitable drops, it just kind of melts away.
Now for step 3. There's this huge, paralyzing myth out there that investing requires some vast fortune just to get your foot in the door. It doesn't. $50, that's literally all it takes to begin. Today's financial ecosystem lets you kick off the process with as little as 50 or 100 bucks. See, the objective here isn't to generate massive profits on day one. The objective is behavioral rewiring. You're building the muscle, you're establishing the habit.
because the habit of investing matters infinitely more than trying to perfectly time the market.
Step 4 is where you discover your absolute best asset. Beginners routinely fall into this devastating trap of chaotic day trading or risky options, believing they somehow have to outsmart the whole system. But the greatest secret of wealth building? It's that the simplest, most boring investments quietly and relentlessly crush the complex ones. We're talking about index funds. With these, you aren't gambling on a single company's fate. You're acquiring a foundational slice of the entire economy. Hundreds of successful companies all at once, giving you unparalleled diversification and really stoic long-term growth.
And hey, if a strategy that simple sounds a bit too pedestrian to build an empire, consider the words of a guy who has completely mastered the game. Legendary investor Warren Buffett has repeatedly recommended low-cost index funds for most investors. When the architect of one of the greatest fortunes in human history tells you that this beautifully boring, methodical strategy is the ultimate path to victory, well, the wise investor listens and then gets to work.
Which brings us to the end game: consistency. Imagine directing just $300 a month into the market for 25 years, hitting an historical average return of 8%. Over those 2.5 decades, your actual out-of-pocket contribution is $90,000. But the silent machinery of compounding builds you an empire of nearly $200,000 in pure growth. You accumulate over $285,000 total. This is the reality of capital at work, laboring tirelessly in the dark, just multiplying itself while you sleep.
Part 3. The Psychology of Fear. Navigating the Crashes. All right, we have to confront the inevitable here. What happens when the cinematic music stops? When the global headlines turn dire, the markets plunge, and absolute panic sets in. We really have to reframe this narrative. Historically, market drops are not apocalyptic disasters. They're totally normal, cyclical events. For the disciplined, consistent investor, a market crash is actually a rare, incredible opportunity. Your automated monthly investments are suddenly scooping up significantly more shares at profoundly discounted prices. This is exactly why the veterans remain calm. They are thinking in decades, not days, strategically gathering up assets to ride the crest of the inevitable recovery. Think of it like this. Saving your money is a lot like keeping seeds safely sealed up in a glass jar. Yeah, for sure, they are perfectly protected from the elements. But in that sterile environment, absolutely nothing will ever grow. Investing is taking those precious seeds and throwing them down into the dark, unpredictable dirt. And at first, it looks messy. It feels entirely out of your control. The storms come, the soil shifts around, but over time, the roots actually take hold, and massive, vibrant, unstoppable growth bursts right out of the earth.
So we arrive at the ultimate truth of this entire financial awakening. Saving your money gives you stability. It builds that floor, keeping your feet firmly planted on the ground when the winds are howling. But investing gives you freedom. It is the engine of your future sovereignty. And the earlier in life you intentionally combine these two distinct stages, the more powerful and secure your financial destiny is going to become.
Which leaves us with one pretty big, echoing question. I want you to take a moment and deeply evaluate your own financial reality. Are you still waiting in the dark, safely guarded but forever trapped in the saving stage? Or are you ready to step into the light and actually begin investing?